All right. Should be live here any second. It's just starting up.
Nice.
All right, buddy. We're live.
All right, let's do it.
How you doing today, Tom?
I'm doing well. It's gonna be 32 degrees in Toronto today. So well, I mean, you know as well as I do that like eight months out of the year in most places in Canada are no fun. So I'm not gonna
Yeah.
complain. I got my summer shirt on. I'm happy.
Yeah, no, I'm not wearing a suit today either, buddy.
Yeah.
It's going to be 30 degrees out today. Well, thanks a lot for coming on, man. I'm super pumped that we took the opportunity to have you on because you're on the news and you do lots of stuff like this. And one of the things walking into this is it's interesting that a lot of people in Edmonton say that we follow Toronto like 2 years behind.
Hmm.
So it's going to be interesting to hear about your real estate market and stuff. So first of all, let's talk about like your background in real estate and
Yep.
all that type of stuff.
Yeah, okay. So this is year 9 in real estate for me. So I did this right out of university. So this is my first real job, It was like
Yeah.
I got my license when I was 22. Mentored under somebody for the first year, learned a lot, probably saved me 5 years of trial and error. But like it was tough, man. Like that first year, 22, they always tell you on all the trainings, talk to people that know, like, and trust you. What they don't tell you in your first 2 years is that the trust factor is not there yet.
Yep.
They know and like you, but they don't trust you because you're new at what you're doing. So
Yep.
I actually built my business off strangers. I used to run ads on like Kijiji and Craigslist trying to find anyone that could like lease a place.
Yeah.
And I built my whole business on leases that first year. I think I did like 3 or 5 sales, like was not, successful in the grand scheme of things, but I learned and I built my database. So yeah, this is year 9, started on my own. Now we've got a team of 6 realtors.
Yep.
And I've changed my business model a bit where I'm more just on the listing side now.
Yeah.
But yeah, gone through the craziness of the Toronto market for the last decade. And yeah, that's kind of what got me to here at least.
Awesome, man. Well, yeah, no, it seems like you're doing very well. I mean, we got connected through my mutual buddy, Mike Waddell there.
Yep.
And because I was looking for a Toronto agent, he's like, no. He's like, you got to use Tom. And then I did some research and yeah, it looks like you're killing it over there, man. And it's not an easy market, right? Like you guys got high competition and like unbelievably high competition. And it's like your prices are, we'll get into that a little bit later, but it's a very expensive market too, right?
Well, it's so crazy. So I remember doing a presentation years ago and I was trying to figure out the math on like, okay, the greater Toronto area,
Yeah.
the GTA, there's like over 7 million people that live in that cluster, right? There's a ton of people.
Yeah.
And then if you look at just like our biggest real estate board, there's almost 60,000 people licensed divided by how many people exist.
Yeah.
And it was like, you take out the people under 18, almost 1% of the population of the GTA has a real estate license.
What?
Which is wild. Like 1 in every 120 people has a license.
That's insane.
Yeah. So
Wow.
Now having a license and being good at selling real estate are obviously 2 very different things.
Of course.
And probably only 1 in 3 in our market actually do this full time, which I don't think is too different from most markets.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, a lot of people exist. And so it's like, especially at the beginning of my career, I felt like on a client experience level, on a market understanding level, I was there, but there was so much competition. I couldn't get a seat at the kitchen table. Right.
Yep.
So for me, that's why early on, I was like, I got to do something that makes myself stand out. So it was videos.
Yeah.
And I just started making video content. I would put out a monthly market report to my database, which was like so bad looking back at it now.
Yeah.
But I did it. And then that leads to the next thing, and then eventually I get on the news, and it all started from like a crappy little video in my basement.
No way.
But I just stayed consistent at it. And my whole thing always for realtors was like, I think visibility beats ability. So it's like the realtor that is the best at their job doesn't necessarily sell the most amount of homes. Why is that?
Yeah.
Because they're not as visible as they could be. So you have to have the ability, but the visibility factor comes first.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I focus on is like, if I'm like, what's a community that you sell in? Like, what's like a
So let's say St. Albert. Let's say St. Albert.
St.
So
Albert.
it's a little city.
So my version of that, like 2 years in the industry, like getting by, but not succeeding was like, you know, if I'm Ross and I want to sell in St. Albert, how does the average homeowner in St. Albert know who the heck I am?
Yeah.
That's all I was thinking. So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, you can either have the for sale signs. I didn't have that.
Yeah.
You can direct mail them. I didn't have any money when I started,
Yeah.
right? You can do community events, but no one knew me, right?
Yeah.
You can run the open houses for other agents that have the listings. Or for me, it was like, I'm just going all in on content
Yeah.
because I have the time, but I don't have the money. Let's do that. And that was what really opened it up to me. And then
Yep.
over time, you can start doing other things that are more leverage where it's just paying for it. But when I
Yeah.
started, it was just me.
Yeah. And you know what, man? That was exactly how I like started too. I have a Siberian Husky. And so I have to walk him all the time. And at that time, I just had to constantly take him. So I went to this place. It's like a little provincial park, like near where I live. And I would just walk through the bush and record myself talking about real estate, educating people. And those videos got me more business, not more business, but just more awareness of who I am, what I do. And it's educating, providing value to people, right? It's not like use me, use me, use me. I'm a realtor. It's not about that. It's about, no, let's like, you know what? Like you said, having a real estate license does not mean that like there's such a broad scheme when it comes to realtors, right? So it's like if you got to educate people, and it's providing value that way. So that's kind of funny that you said, yeah, because I've been seeing all your videos, and I mean you've done it for a long time, and it's kind of funny too. I look back at my first couple ones and they're so cringy, like I hate watching them. But you had to start somewhere doing it, right?
Well, and that's the thing that I tell people too is like, listen, I'm on chapter 10, or this is year 10. A lot of people that are just starting video now are on chapter 1. And if you're comparing it to my chapter 10, you're going to get discouraged. And likewise for everybody else, go compare it to my chapter 1, which sucked, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And that, what you just said is very smart, right? It's like, you know, we've got a pretty decent following on YouTube as well. We're almost at like 6,000 subscribers. They're mostly consumers because Instagram and Facebook is mostly just other realtors. The content I put there is for referrals, to be truthful, from other realtors. But YouTube it's like if I make a video on YouTube saying like, here's the 5 reasons why I'm a great realtor, no one gives a crap. No one's clicking on that.
No, exactly.
But if I say like, here's the 5 reasons why I love living in Toronto, or this specific neighborhood, here's what you need to know. That's something someone would Google and they're actually interested in. And in my opinion, and we're going a little off topic here, but I just think this is interesting. In my opinion, YouTube is the most underutilized source of potential business for real estate agents because people are going there to learn. If I'm scrolling TikTok, I didn't go to your video you just showed up in front of me.
No, you know what? That's a great point, man. It really is. And I mean, yeah, that's a whole other conversation about all about the real estate stuff, right? No, man, but I love what you're doing, man, because you know what? There's not, in my opinion, the real estate business in Canada doesn't have enough of guys like you, where it's like, you know what, you do provide a ton of value. If you go to your YouTube page, I can learn all about the Toronto real estate market by sitting there for half an hour watching your videos, and you're honest and you've killed it, man. So, you know, so I'm really happy to have you on today. And I'm also excited because I actually have no idea what's going on in Toronto or has gone on in the past couple of years.
Sure. Yeah, I'm happy to.
I have no clue. So, like, obviously, we know that you guys have some expensive real estate.
Yep.
Right. But take me through. First of all, let's talk about just single family.
Okay.
And then we can talk about condos and all that kind of stuff. But it's like, if I'm someone moving to Toronto and I have no idea about the area, like what would you start to tell them about areas you recommend, and then maybe some areas that are more affordable than others, right?
Sure. So, okay. So all the answers that I give, just to preface it, will be based on the city of Toronto, Toronto proper. So not the suburbs surrounding, not the GTA, not everything, but like you have like we call it like the 416 area code, right? Like the real Toronto, right?
Yep.
So if you're now, these numbers are as of today, they've dropped off since the peak in February.
Okay.
If you take, I don't love average price. I like median better because it takes out the outliers, but average price is what we work off of. So if you want to buy a semi-detached house, meaning you have a wall shared with your neighbor in a solid area of Toronto, it's $1.3 million.
Okay.
So you're sharing, and now this might sound funny for your market. That's a maybe 20-foot across lot by 100 deep.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Now, our typical detached house, a good detached lot, is 25 by 100.
Okay.
Now, other neighborhoods you get 30, 35, but then they become more expensive.
Yeah.
Our detached houses are like $1.8 million. They're very expensive. Now,
Yeah.
now you can still, saying all that, we sold a semi last week for 1.1 million. Like they exist at all different ranges.
Hmm.
But if you're thinking like, okay, so if you, for people that don't know Toronto, if you think CN Tower is the middle of our city for downtown at least, and
Yeah.
you spread out, you have a few options. You can go east. If you go east, you get like, and like east of the DVP, you get Riverdale, Leslieville, the beaches, Danforth. Those are all great established areas.
Yeah.
If, sorry, that was east. If you go west, you get Parkdale, you get Roncesvalles, you get the Junction, all these kind of cool, trendy. Parkdale's not quite where the other ones are at in terms of like on the way up, but
Yeah.
they're good. And then you go north of the city, or sorry, not north, but north of Midtown,
Yep.
you get Lawrence Park, Rosedale, Forest Hill. Now, these are very expensive homes. Then you get Don Mills, which is just across from like where Drake's house is, you know, so you get
Yeah.
that mix of just these like $30 million homes mixed in.
Yep.
But the average person in Toronto isn't buying $1 million house as their first purchase. And I think that's where our markets slightly differ. It's our condo market does very well because of the affordability of it and where they're located.
Hmm.
If you want a house in Toronto and you're a first time home buyer, you're not saving to buy the house. You're buying a condo
Yeah.
to get in, build up, pay down some principal, build some equity, and then jump up when you can, because rarely anyone's buying the house as the first property.
Yeah. And that's very common to like obviously Vancouver and the island and places like that, right?
Yeah.
It's just so that's actually one thing I want to talk to you about too is our condo market in Edmonton. I don't know if you talked about it with Mike, but like our condo market in Edmonton it hasn't been doing well since I've had my license. Like our condo fees, you can see a $200,000 unit, $300,000 unit. That's, you know, decent, and it's a nice condo downtown, but you're paying 800 to possibly $1,200 in condo fees.
Really?
Yeah, man.
And how big would that unit be, like square footage?
1,000 square feet, maybe a
Oh,
little bit
so you're
smaller.
like almost $1 a square foot maintenance.
Exactly. And you don't get that money back, right? So it's like
Yeah.
so like, are you guys are stratas, right? Over in
Yep.
Toronto?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So we only have a couple stratas here. Like I know that the condo associations, like they're very similar, but they're very different as well, right?
Yeah, we call them like condo corporations, but it's the same
Yeah.
idea as a strata in Vancouver. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, that's what we call them here too. Yeah, so okay, so very similar. So what would your okay, so if I'm a first home buyer, I'm looking at like 1,000 square foot or like 800 to 800 to 1,000 square foot condo. That's like decent, right? What am I looking at?
Well, and the truth is, if you're a first time home buyer looking at a condo, it's probably 500 to 600 square feet, not 8 to 1,000 in Toronto.
Studio stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
so our condo, now it depends on the specific building, when it was built, all those
Yep.
factors. I think the sweet spot is like buying a building between like 5 and 12 years old, because you know what you're getting. There's no surprises. You know what's in the reserve fund. It's established, right? The new
Yeah.
buildings and the older ones are kind of, I do think condos have expiry dates. I
Yep.
wouldn't buy a condo and own it forever. I'd
Mhm.
buy it to then jump out of it when it makes sense to put that money into dirt, meaning like freehold, right?
I totally agree, man. Totally agree.
So we're priced per square foot basically. So
Okay.
a pretty standard, decent 10-year-old condo in Toronto, it's $1,000 a square foot. So
Okay.
600 square feet is $600,000.
Okay. Oh
Now,
my God.
I know. Now, if you know, I can find you an 850 square foot condo for $600,000 as well.
Yeah.
But it's going to be an older building and the maintenance fees are higher. So,
Yeah.
you know, sometimes actually a smaller, newer condo that costs more on the purchase price is cheaper than a less expensive, because again, you don't get those fees back, right?
Yeah.
So it's all looking at like the carrying cost versus the actual purchase price.
Yeah. So what would condo fees be on something like you said that's like that same age,
Yeah.
that, you know, what did you say, like 5 to
Like 5 to
15 year
12
mark?
years old.
5 to 12. Okay, so 5 to 12 years old. What's my condo fees on something like that?
For a typical 600 square foot condo, your condo fees are like 450.
Yeah, see, that's wild. Like you come here and our condo fees, because the thing is, like, we have so many old buildings here.
Yeah.
Like we do have some newer condos, don't get me wrong. And it's kind of funny. Like we had the Sky Residence that was on a Rogers Place, like where the Oilers play, right?
Yep.
They built those. They were the same thing. They were like 700 square feet. And then you got the really nice luxury ones. But they had a hard time selling them. They were 80% vacant for, I think, the first like 3 years.
And
which
you know
is
why
crazy.
they had a hard time selling them? Like I've seen this play out. It's
Yeah.
because the average person in Edmonton that makes a reasonable salary or has dual income with a spouse can afford to buy a single family home.
Why buy a condo?
Why would you buy a condo?
Yeah.
Where here
You have to.
you can make 200 grand combined
Yeah.
and not qualify for a home. So you have to buy a condo. So I don't actually think people in Toronto and Vancouver like love condos.
Yeah.
I think they're like, well, it's this or what? It's either this
Yeah.
or I leave the city, go to the suburbs,
Yeah.
or I rent.
Yeah.
And I
Is
think
that even possible though in Toronto? Because I've heard that it's just,
well,
we've had so many people move here from Ontario. And I even heard, I had some folks move from Montreal and they lived in Toronto and they had to move to Montreal. I think like 10 years ago, because I guess prices were still kind of affordable in like Montreal parts of Quebec.
They still are in Montreal comparative to Toronto.
Okay. So they did that, but then they said that so many people were moving out of Toronto and you see all of these, you know, the GTA area and even parts of Quebec just skyrocket because of how many people moved out. Is that even still, is it affordable in the suburbs at all still?
Well, okay. So pre-pandemic,
yeah,
you could buy a decent, solid, you know, I don't know, 2,000 square foot house in the burbs for 600 grand.
Okay.
But now it's 900. So
wow. Okay.
The burbs saw the craziest price. They saw 10 years of growth in a typical market in 2 years.
Yeah.
Now, part of it, the Toronto buyers ruined it because COVID happened and they go like, all right, I don't have to be here anymore. I'm going to go buy a piece of land out there. I have my Toronto money. Now it's funny because all the agents I know that work in the suburb markets, their sellers would be like, is it a Toronto buyer? They want the Toronto buyer.
Yeah.
Because to us, it's like cheap, but it's not to them.
Yeah.
And then when I knew it was getting a little crazy, I was getting random texts from agents in Calgary that were like, come invest in our Calgary condos with your Toronto buyers. And I'm like, something's going on here.
Yeah. That's kind of funny too, because I mean, we saw Calgary boom and the Calgary condo market's much better than here.
Yeah.
Like you said, if you are, you know, if you've got a decent income in Calgary, you can buy some really nice acreages. You can buy some nice detached single family stuff over there. Right.
Totally.
Okay. So did you guys see, cause obviously you guys have been in a seller's market for what, 7 years,
Basically.
10 years longer, maybe.
Basically.
Yeah, we didn't see that until literally like a little bit after COVID. We haven't seen that. We were in a declining buyer's market forever. It is interesting that people always say that old expression that we follow Toronto 2 years exactly. So it makes me think a little bit too. Have you guys started, like you guys have probably started to see a little bit of a slowdown now, right?
Yeah, it actually happened very, very fast. Like very fast. Like we, to put some context to it. So it was so wild in the first 3 months of this year. Now, before the rate hikes happened, which is what's causing all of this.
Yeah.
You know, I would put up a condo, and I'd get 100 showings on it, and I get 19 offers, and it sold for a ridiculous price. Now, if I put up that same condo today, I'd be lucky to get 3 to 5 showings in a week, and maybe sell it in 3 weeks. Like it has totally changed. Now, prices are down from the peak, still way up from last year. So it's all real. Like the only people I'm worried about is people that leverage themselves, bought in February or March with a variable rate at the top end of their budget, and they just got in.
Yeah.
They're going to wait 2 years, 3 years to get back to that number. That's not coming back. Right.
Yeah.
So it changed very quickly. Like I've got, I don't know, 5 on the market right now, 4 more coming out next week. The amount of, I couldn't keep 2 listings at once because they sold right away to start the year. Now, my recent experience with this in the condos, at least, was in 2020, pandemic hit, condo prices went down 6 months in a row where everything else went up. because people didn't want to move. Oh, can you still hear me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, we're good?
Yeah. Okay. We're good. We're good. Yeah. We're
Okay.
good.
The condo prices went down, and at one point then I had 22 listings at once, and all I was doing was making bad news phone calls
All the
all the
time.
time. So
Yeah.
I've been through this recently, and we know how to adjust to this. But I will actually say, for real estate agents, like, man, this is your time. When things slow down, take over more market share than ever. Don't stop your expenses. Go put your foot on the pedal, because everyone else is going to make excuses. It's the summer. We had a good start.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah.
Well, it's all relative, right? Like I tell everyone right now, I'm like, okay, obviously prices are down. We're a little different here because I mean, our average price right now is like 500,000. Right.
Yeah.
So I tell everyone now, I'm like, okay, so our interest rates have gone up significantly, but that's also because they were giving away basically free money. And that was an anomaly of those interest rates. Like we never saw that. So now we're kind of back to more of a normal lending rate. Right. So the thing is now the people that bought back, like, you know, February, March, when things were really busy, yeah, they paid a higher price, but they had a way cheaper interest rate. So
I hope they took a fix though. That's all, because if they took the variable, they're catching up now. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. And most people I worked with did.
Yeah.
And even honestly, I still ask people, I'm like, what are you doing? Are you doing a variable? Are you doing a fix? Because back then I said, no, you guys have to lock this in, because you know for a fact that if the Bank of Canada is saying that they're going to come out with an increase every quarter, you know that it's going to be more than that, because it's always more than they actually say it's going to be.
They've gone each direction too far, too fast, in my opinion.
100%.
And listen, there's like videos of Tiff saying midway through 2020, you guys are good. Go spend your money, go invest in things. Rates are staying low till the end of 2023. And then wait a second. No, they changed their mind. Now we're going to shoot them up because got to get inflation under control. So it's like, I feel like Bank of Canada came late to the party.
Yep.
And drank too much alcohol too fast. Like that's what happened.
Yeah.
I wish they had done a more, because if you really look at prices and go 5-year trend, 3-year trend, for any sellers that didn't participate in the last 2 years, and you said to them, this is what you're worth today. Now you may have been worth this 2 months ago, but if I told you you started here and now you were this, would you be happy? And the answer is yes.
Yeah.
But it was so wild for 2 years that still a good market. Interest rates are still fairly reasonable. Immigration's still happening. Unemployment's low. Our economy now, they're purposely pushing us into a recession here. Like they've said that openly. Yep. With rates. So some people are going to get burned, but it probably is the right thing for the average Canadian, because we've been through an interesting 2 years. That's not normal.
100%. This is what I'm seeing too. And I don't know if you guys are seeing the same thing. So like my fiance recently went back, and she's been in new home sales forever. So she worked for me for 2 years. Now she's back with a builder. Right.
Yep.
So our new home inventory is like gone. Like
we have none.
Here, we used to have a ton of specs where it's like you could go to a builder and they might have 4 options for you in 3 different areas, right? Now we have none because of all the supply issues. And that still has, it's good for the resale market, right? Because, you know, before you could go buy a brand new house that's just as good as my resale house that I have listed for sale that's 10 years old, right? But that hasn't bounced back yet. And now I see like this is a very balanced market, in my opinion. No, I'm not going to list something and it's not going to sell for $80,000 over, which is a lot for our market, right? That's not going to happen anymore unless I price it ridiculously aggressive. So we're back to normal now. And I really don't like, what do you think? Do you realistically think that we're going to see as high as 8% in interest rates? Do you think that's going to happen?
I mean, every time I predict something, I'm wildly wrong, like everybody else. So no, I mean, listen, if we got there, I'd be very worried. I think that would be troublesome. I really do think. I think if we cross over 6, even, not like right now, from the last week's announcement, the variable's at like 4.5, depending on where you got it. The fix is at 5. Yeah. Now the next announcement's not till September, so there's none in August, which is a good thing. Yeah. From Bank of Canada, which affects the variable rate only. And the bond yields for the fix have decreased a bit. So it's looking like okay here. Yeah. Like I'd be really worried if that happened. I don't think it will. The joke I usually make with clients is who makes money? Like, do you think our government wants to purposely crash our real estate market because they make money on taxes when you own the home. They make money when you buy it on land transfer. If you sell it and it's not your principal residence, they make capital gains on it. The government makes a lot of money from real estate. I don't think they want to hurt the market that bad. And, you know, if rates go to 8%, like there's going to be some damage.
No, and that's the thing where, you know, I'm thinking about this where, let's just face it, man, we are seeing so much, like you said, they're trying to force a recession, right?
Yep.
We are seeing so much negative media right now, like a ridiculous amount. And to the fact that I actually saw some stuff on Edmonton, like it was based on Edmonton. I think it was CTV or CBC or something like that. And they said that, oh, the real estate market is down. The real estate market is down. I think it was like 10 or 15% or something. And I'm just going like, wait a second, that doesn't make any sense. So I actually went back and I looked at your month to month statistics. And then I looked at your year to date, like from this time last year, right?
Sure.
And this time last year, we're still higher. Sales are down a little bit, but it was like 0.4%. So I'm going, they went on a basis on like month to month, but this is a seasonal business. Like,
listen, like it gets
right?
them clicks. It gets them clicks. They're playing
That's
the game.
exactly why.
Everybody's playing.
Yeah.
I hope that people read past the headlines and actually get into it. Like some of the good articles recently, like the 1 in 4 Canadians will have to sell if rates keep going up. It was a Manulife survey where they interviewed 2,000 Canadians. Who did they interview? I want to know who they interviewed. Like, but
who did you guys talk to?
They also said in that article that 60% of Canadians don't even know the difference between a fixed and a variable. So you're asking people questions that don't, because we forget, like we're in this. The average Canadian just wants to enjoy their house and they're not speculative and they want to live there and then sell it one day. Like they don't care about all this, like until it comes time that they need to move. So if you call me and ask me a science question, I'm going to be like, yeah, that scares me too. Because I don't know anything about it. Like that's not my field of expertise. So the headlines are going to not be great. And the reality is in a rising interest rate environment, things are changing on a literally daily basis in terms of prices. And it's happening so fast now that until we have the stabilization of knowing like, okay, Bank of Canada said they're not going to raise rates for a bit and we understand where we are, then I think market fundamentals will come back and it'll be pretty good. Prices won't be back to where they were, but they'll be steady. But the next little bit here, it's going to go down slightly from what it was. Like there's no doubt it costs way more to borrow the same amount of money and you're being qualified for less. The demand is still there. They just can't afford to. And we're that transition zone right now where sellers still want a price that their neighbor got in March, which doesn't exist. And buyers don't want to buy. And then the market keeps going down because who would want to be that person? So it's like everyone's kind of playing chicken. I think by mid-September, we'll understand where we're at and the market will get back to, at least we understand what prices are. Because right now, who knows?
And that's what I think too. Right now, we're in kind of a limbo period. Like we don't really know what's going on. We're more of a balanced market. In Toronto, because I haven't been to Toronto in a long time, and I certainly don't know much about their real estate. Do you guys find that you still have? Because I know for a while, didn't you guys have a lot of people moving to Toronto from out of Canada? Like, wasn't it a lot of outside buyers, or is it mostly people from Canada? Do you find?
Well, it's interesting. Like when I get offers on my properties, I don't necessarily ask them who their client, you know what I mean? Like I don't dig into where they came from.
Of course.
I will say that a lot of people buying our properties are citizens who want to move into them. Now, obviously there's investors. And obviously we have a ton of immigration coming into Canada and a big percentage of them come to the GTA because that's where the jobs are, frankly. So it's a big portion, but if you look at other times where markets corrected or we had recessions or mini recessions, immigration was still good. Like we still had a lot of people coming into Canada. So that's not the only factor. And when we say 400,000 new Canadians are coming into Canada this year, we don't need 400,000 homes for them. They're families. It's not like 400,000 buyers. But what's interesting right now is our sale market has totally slowed down, but our rental market is the craziest thing I've ever seen.
Really?
Interest rates go up. The bottom end of the market can't afford to get into the entry level condo anymore because now they can't afford it on the interest rate.
Yeah.
So they rent. And rental prices are now up 20% in Toronto over last year. It's wild. We're putting rentals up and they're getting 3 offers in a day, and 2 of the people haven't even seen it. Like, I've never seen this type of action for rentals. So it's one or the, there's no winning here. It's right. It's like, we want affordable housing. How do we get affordable housing? How do we stop prices from going up? Well, we raise interest rates. Well, even if the price comes down, your payment's probably higher. So it's the same. And then that entry level person now has to rent, and then rent's gone up on them. I don't know how you solve this. I honestly don't.
You can't.
Yeah.
You really can't.
I think we make jokes about the government and whatnot. I think they honestly are trying to do what they can.
Yeah.
There's never going to be a solution that is going to be that everyone's going to agree on.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting that you actually said that too, because I legitimately thought that most of Toronto was like, I thought that at least like 30-40% was people that have moved there in the past 5 years. I thought they were people from out of Canada. I really did.
Some are, for sure. I don't think that high percentage of buyers. I mean, the stat used to be for like purely foreign buyers that don't live here was about 5% of our market.
Yeah.
They still haven't officially banned them from the federal budget, but we'll see. I mean, that's all of Canada, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, and like our rules on foreign buyer tax, it's 20%. But there's a laundry list of exemptions. If your kid's going to go to school here, if you're trying to get PR, like there's all these not around it, but like you don't have to pay for it. So there's no doubt that money from outside Canada has come to Toronto. Like, there's no doubt. I think most of it though is going to the new construction sales on the condo side of things.
Okay.
We don't have, the only person that truly knows the answer to this is developers.
Okay. So that's, you kind of touched on something too that I wanted to talk to you about, because I recently interviewed a Vancouver Island agent, and BC just got a ton of new regulation with their real estate board. And I know that a lot of the condo buildings there, for example, there's a wait list to be able to rent those or to Airbnb those. Do you guys have similar rules? Because in Alberta, like it's like Wild West, man. We don't have too many rules.
It's because the demand's not there. They're not trying to curb the demand, right?
Yeah, like, exactly.
Yeah. So most condominium properties that you buy, you can rent out. Like you're allowed to rent. I know in Vancouver, there's lots of buildings where you can't rent them. We have Airbnb regulations in Toronto that came in just prior to the pandemic, where you can still do Airbnb, but it has to be your principal residence, which defeats the purpose for a lot of people buying investment properties to Airbnb them.
Yeah. So
it has to be your principal residence. You can only do it 180 days out of the year. So they try to clump it all in the summer because those are the best returns you're going to get.
Yep.
But most condo buildings don't allow Airbnb anyways.
Okay.
Like there's only a handful that are openly like, yeah, we allow this. So there's certainly regulations, but for the most part, you can rent out your property without any issues.
Okay, that's interesting. Did you guys also see, because BC just had something too, I can't remember. Do you guys, like, you as a realtor, do you guys have any laws that have been implemented in the past 2-3 years to try and curb like our demand? Or is it just basically like condo buildings like that where it's like you can't rent out? So like, have you guys had any new rules come in the last 3-4 years?
No, but we typically copy BC 2 years later. Yeah. So they put in foreign buyer tax, then we put in foreign buyer tax. Now they have like the no double ending rule. We don't have that. Okay. We could still represent both sides. I don't on any of my listings because I just don't want to deal with it. It's never, even if you do everything perfectly, there's always someone that's not happy. Yeah. So I just choose not to do it. I believe they have a statement of disclosure on commissions in BC where if the offer changes by $5,000, you have to then do this new first sheet, which shows your seller the difference in commission now they're paying because of the difference in that offer.
You guys have to do that?
No, we don't, but BC does.
BC does. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So BC is by far the most regulated in terms of new rules. We haven't got there. Obviously, the whole country's talking about open bidding and whatnot, which I don't think solves any problem, but maybe if people think it's better, we'll see, but it's not going to change prices. Supply and demand is going to change prices.
Yeah. No, 100%. Okay, that's interesting though. And do you find that do you have, because over here we had so many, I'm going to say probably about half the people I was working with at one point during our COVID boom
Mhm.
was from outside of Canada. A lot of people from
Mm.
Ontario, a lot of people from tons of people from BC. But did you see a lot of people? Like, were you talking to Mike a lot, being like, "Hey, I've got like 6 guys moving this
You
year"?
know, I will weirdly no, actually. We had
Okay.
most of our people went from the core of the city to outside the city, but they stayed in Ontario.
Okay.
We had a few people that went to like Halifax and just like uprooted and went there. But I sold a lot of condos early pandemic where they like bought in Hamilton or Guelph for like these markets just outside, which are great little pockets that were
Yeah.
super affordable that are no longer affordable.
Okay. That's interesting.
But
Because
then
that's, huh.
when the city started opening up again, they're reaching out to me being like, hey, we love our place here. We love our new lifestyle, but I have to come back 2 days a week now to the office. What does a 1-bedroom condo cost? So they're slowly being like, can we come back a little bit? But
Yeah.
they don't want to give up what they've got now either.
Did you find that? Because I know in Edmonton, like our commercial buildings downtown, our office buildings, still like companies do not need the infrastructure anymore. Like
Yeah.
people are working from home. Are people back in Toronto now? Are they back in the office? Like, did you see that a lot of people had to move back? Because most of the people that I saw that moved here obviously didn't need to be in their office buildings anymore. Are people back to work over there now?
Yeah, I think it depends on the company. And you look at the amount of money
Yeah.
that was invested by these big corporations. Like CIBC just built 2 massive towers in downtown Toronto, obviously before the pandemic, but like you think they don't want their employees to come back because they're paying X amount. And you know what I mean? Like the amount of
Of
money
course.
invested by these corporations. Now, some will say it's flex work. Some will say you can work permanently from home. I don't know. I think it's going to be somewhere in the middle.
Hmm.
But and then also just like and like this is not my area of expertise, but if you look at promotions and growth within a company, being there in person, someone physically seeing you probably gets you promoted faster than just a
Of
Zoom
course.
call. If
Of
you're doing the
course.
same amount of work, you're getting the same amount of results, but the relationship's stronger, there's probably
Yep.
something built into that. Um, so, and I guess it depends on where you're at in your career. Like
Yeah.
if you're brand new, you're like, I don't mind going to the office. That's great. But downtown Toronto right now in the summer, it's happening. Like we're back. Everywhere's
Okay.
packed. There's concerts every night. There's Jays games. Like it's fun. Like the city's booming again.
Yeah.
But I've always said like the summer in Toronto is like the best place. The
Yeah.
winter, I can go elsewhere.
Yeah.
But our summer is always fun. So it's nice to see the city like a little bit back to what it was.
Yeah. Oh, buddy. A vacation to Toronto in the winter would be nice for us over here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we talked about it a little bit, but I do want to talk about it just a little bit. Is what's your prediction on where the Toronto market is going to go? I know that we're gonna, like we said, we're gonna see, we're gonna have a very good idea of what our future looks like after September. What's your prediction on what's going to happen with your market?
Okay. So if you are a homeowner and you're looking at the price your neighbor got in March, you're not going to get it for 2 more years. It's not coming back until rates go back down. Eventually, we'll
Yeah.
probably get back there, but time's your friend in real estate, right?
Yep.
If you didn't participate in the last 2 years of real estate, you are not really affected that much, other than when your mortgage renewal comes up, your rate's probably going to be higher than it was. But hopefully, you've had the equity pay down that you can still afford it, right?
Yep.
If you are a buyer and you're thinking, I'd like to get into the market now or jump up, for the first time in a long time in Toronto, we have a good opportunity for move up buyers because my condo hypothetically only went down 50 grand from the peak, but the house I want to buy went down 150 grand. So
Okay.
in a declining market, it's decent to move up, but it's hard to move up in an increasing market because what you're trying to get to is getting further away percentage wise, right? Just
Yeah.
from where it started. I think prices will continue to fall every single month until at least the end of September.
Yep.
On a month-to-month basis. We don't necessarily have a ton of new listings hitting the market right now, but we're having that rollover inventory. We're now only 25% of listings are selling every month, so it's piling up on each other.
Mm-hmm.
We also had a period of time here where there were some sellers that bought in February, March, early April, thought they were going to sell for a price that didn't get that price, that were sweating a little bit and had to give properties away. So there were some really good opportunities. Every seller I've talked to moving forward now is not delusional. They understand what's happening. They're at the new, they're not testing the market anymore. They want to sell.
Yeah.
Which I think is a good thing. So I think overall, this is probably a good thing we slowed down because we were going too fast. But it's going to be a quiet summer. There's going to be way less transactions. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. Like if I'm a buyer, I'm buying right now. If I'm minimum going to own this house for 5 years.
Yeah.
If I don't have a 5-year perspective, I'm not buying a house. And we're telling all of our clients that. Yeah. And if you're a seller, but you didn't participate before and you're selling to buy something else, it's relative.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's worth less, but what you're going to buy is worth less. And when you sold in the hot market, you had to buy in a hot market. So
yeah.
But yeah, we're going to see price decreases. Overall, the year is probably still going to be up like 2 or 3% from January. But we go like this in Toronto. We go like this in price. And then instead of just like.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and you know what, what I've literally been telling everyone is exactly what you just repeated. I'm like, if you're getting into the market and you don't currently own, then you're going to have to watch for some trends, and you're going to have to talk with your realtor quite a bit to wait for that perfect opportunity to get it. Because it was not great for the past 6 months, right? Well, even a year, a couple of years. But if you are currently in the market, like you said, I say that once a day to people, it's always relative. It always is, because unless you are completely selling and moving out of the country,
sure,
that's the only time that you possibly are going to lose money on something, because you have to live somewhere and you have to go buy somewhere else. And realistically, all across Canada, every realtor that I've talked to so far has the exact same thing. It's just different in prices, right? Your $1.2 million house, it is our $400,000 unit.
Yep.
Right.
And listen, your life doesn't care about interest rates. If you get a new job or you get into a new relationship or get separated or have a baby or someone passes away, they don't care about the market. People move in every single market, regardless of what's going on. Even like we had a major crash in the 90s. Prices took 10 years to get back to where they were in the late 80s.
Yeah.
Still 40,000 people moved, 46,000 people moved. And this is a way smaller population.
Yeah.
People move in every market. So for us as real estate agents, as long as you can educate people, do what you say you're going to do, and give them solid, sound advice that you would give yourself, you'll survive and you'll come out of it way higher. And I'm actually slightly secretly excited the market has shifted, because even though short term it's annoying because my listings are sitting, it's like, I'm going to take over more market share. I saw this play out before. People would call me and be like, I know 7 realtors, but I know you are the guy for condos. I need you to come in. Realistically, in February, their cousin could have sold their condo. They could have, because the market was so wild. Now it's like, you got to go in, actually give good advice, understand what you're talking about, and be a true like salesperson, not just an order taker.
No, 100%. And I think in any market, you need that type of realtor. 100, like you do, but I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Like, honestly,
but you get, when it's going up, the ones without skill can get away with still selling it, but
100%. You could list anything and you're going to sell it for way over list, because of that. Our demand was so high and our supply, we had none. Right.
Totally. Yep.
Yeah. Cool. Well, Tom, anything else you want to say before we close it out?
I'm still investing in real estate. I don't care about short term. Every decision, and that's not a sales pitch. Like, seriously, I'm buying a house this summer because it's going to be my 10-year house. I don't care.
Yeah.
Don't overextend yourself. Have some cash put away for the next little bit, because Bank of Canada has made it clear they're going to put us into a recession comparative to what we had. The few things that I believe are different, and I hope this doesn't come off as like real estate guy says market's not going to crash, but like our vacancy rate, like if you look at what happened in the States in 2008, they had all these vacant homes, which people defaulted on and walked away from. We don't have that.
No.
The stress test was put in 2018. So most people that got mortgages in the last 5 years were already stressed at where the rates are back at today. So they can financially afford it.
Yep.
We're not limiting immigration. Unemployment's still super strong. A lot of people have the job market's actually robust right now. Like, this is a moment in time. I wouldn't make a silly decision to exit the market now, because you don't think, like, hang tight.
Yeah.
And no matter how high your interest rate is on your house, if you rent, your interest rate's 100%.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. And I think it's great advice. Is like, you know what, people, as realtors, I mean, at the end of the day, real estate can follow global economics big time, right?
Yep.
And it's like there's so many trends that we can't predict, but at the end of the day, sometimes you just need to hang tight. And we saw craziness for a couple years, and real
Yep.
estate trends usually can follow a pattern like throughout history. But there always is that period where it's like, you know what, you just need to hang tight, enjoy the summer. And you know what, a lot of people don't need to think about real estate right now. But those are always the opportunities too. If you're an investor, like I'm telling people right now in Edmonton, I'm just going, you know, rather than buying a flip right now, just wait.
Yeah.
Like just wait, hang on for a second, wait until we understand a little bit more what the market's going to do. And then you may take advantage because there's opportunities in any market.
And you know what makes me kind of laugh? The amount of people that have said to me like, hey, let me know when things start ticking up again. I'm interested in getting in. I'm like, well, you want to wait till everyone else is interested again?
Yeah, you do it now.
But you do it now, but no one wants to do it now because, well, what if now's not the bottom? Well, guess what? If anyone tells you they know when the bottom's going to happen, they're lying to your face.
100%.
Nobody knows. Like
yeah.
a lot of people have looked very smart by buying and holding real estate for a long, long time because it's a very boring way to become wealthy.
Yeah.
There's no quick return from it.
Yeah.
And the last 2 years did give you the quick return, but that's not a normal real estate market. So if I'm a consumer, I have a long-term perspective. If I'm a realtor, I'm understanding that the last 2 years were not normal, and I'm going to have to put my foot on the gas pedal and be better at educating people. You know, I'm going to have to book more appointments to get the same results, and the pie is smaller.
Yeah.
So you want to eat more of it. You got to be better at what you do and stand out from everybody else.
Yeah. No, I think that's great advice. Well, it's very interesting to see that actually you guys are very similar to us. And you know what? We do follow you guys very, very closely. And I'm very, I love having conversations with guys like you because you know what? I find that all over Canada is like we're very similar. Like our prices are drastically different,
Sure,
but what we've seen is very similar. So
yeah, we're all following the same trends. It's just what people income is in those different areas, what the supply and demand is. And, you know, my market, the average sale price is $1.2 million. My average sale price is like 800 grand. Like I'm not, because we have like some super luxury stuff, which distorts the average. Right.
Yeah.
And that's why I like median price better. But Toronto is an expensive city to live in because we have everything. Every band you ever want plays a concert here.
Yeah.
We have all the sports teams. Like I'm not trying to, but like there's a reason why it's expensive. And unfortunately, the average person can't afford to buy the average house in Toronto because the wage versus what a property costs has not been on the same metric. Yeah. It's been super cheap money that has pushed up real estate prices and wealth changing hands through generations, unfortunately, where a lot of people get in because they have money from their parents because they bought a house 30 years ago. So I don't know.
Yeah,
we
lots
can
of
complain
generational,
about everything, but it is what it is. And I don't
lots
think
of
much is going to
generational
change.
stuff and lots of people immigrating to Canada too. And I mean, the more people you get in an area, in central Toronto, if something's really expensive in Toronto and you got 100,000 people that just immigrated there, obviously prices are going to go up because those people have to live somewhere too, and you need more housing. So that it's all relative, always, right?
Canada still isn't building enough housing for how many people are immigrating here. So that is not changing. So that long-term makes me think, okay, I like to have my money in real estate.
100%. And I always, dude, I look at Edmonton big time and it's like, and people are always like, oh, we need to build up in Edmonton. We need to build up. But the same thing is like you actually said, and I'm going to be telling people this is like, why would I buy a condo for 400,000 when I could buy actually a nice house, even in St. Albert? St. Albert, if you Google like one of the top 10 places to live in Canada, St. Albert's one of them. Just because of our low crime, we have a very good education system here. For 400 grand, I can get you a decent house.
Yeah, right.
So,
without condo fees. So why would you buy I get it.
Yeah. We got to fix that in Edmonton though. But anyway, Tom, I really appreciate you coming on today, man. I think that we got some really good points in and so thanks for all your input and thanks again for coming on today, man.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thanks, Tom.